We are. And as I was saying that sometimes if you don't want to share what you listen to and you hear during a group share, you can relate to. So you're being coached even if you're not being coached live. And that's something that I learned myself through years of growth and personal development and recovery and learning to shift my mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. So I hope you'll participate. And if you don't wish to speak and you have a question, put it in the chat. And I'm very happy to answer it. What I should have done also is I should have shared with my community that if they had questions to ask, but they couldn't be on the call, to send me the question and I will answer it. But I will remember to do that for next month. So for those of you joining us late, Linda and I were talking about feeling good and yet how sometimes we can be on track and then we get triggered. And I shared that I just spent time with my aging parents. And there were times during the days that I was with them that I felt like the parent. And then there were times I felt like the scared little 4-year-old. And that can be very triggering because when we're triggered.
More salt too.
Well, hello. Hi, Paula. I'm sorry. I was going to say that when we're triggered, we have sort of a natural default to go back to the behaviors that we discovered protected us, helped us navigate a world that we didn't feel safe in. And, you know, we all have a different story, but our stories shape us. And how we navigate that story brings us to today. So that's what Linda and I were talking about. And if anybody has a desire to contribute to that thought process and triggers, I'd love to talk about it, because we can't escape the triggers. The triggers are there. It's about how we react to them, how we respond, really. We don't want to react. We want to respond. We want to initiate a pause to think about what it is that we're truly hungering for, because it's not about the food. So I'd love for each of you to chime in and let me know why you're joining us today, what brought you here, challenges that you might be facing, because it's your hour to ask me anything. Quiet. Nobody wants to talk.
Nobody wants to talk.
Hello, Mensu. How are you?
See, I'm trying to survive.
Well,
what I find intriguing in kind of a way is, why are so many people concerned about losing weight? I would just like to understand.
well, it's a complicated question, but you know, there are many answers. Society, diet culture, what we see in the media, very often makes us feel as though our bodies need to be something they're not. That's
I
one.
understand if somebody is excessively fat, it has 100 pounds and it cannot go on its feet. But why I'm asking this? Because my mother always stated that I am fat. I never was fat. I was just weighing a lot because I have very heavy bones. But now I have lost a lot of weight without making any diet for this. And I have lost so much muscle mass that I'm so weak that I can hardly walk.
Well, that's really a shame. And look, I'm not here to give medical advice. That's beyond the scope of this call. But you know, and you and I have spoken about this before and how you're choosing to take care of yourself. Gotta let go of some of those beliefs about what you can eat and what you can't eat. Get rid of those rules and connect to your body. Let your body tell you what it's hungry for. If you're losing muscle, then it's simple. You need more protein. Protein is the building block of muscle and cells. So I don't want to get into any medical advice, but it could be a question of that. But to go back to why people are so obsessed with losing weight, it's a society thing, it's a cultural thing. But there is a lot of publicity today about the damage of fat shaming. There's a movement called Health at Every Size that promotes people accepting their bodies, accepting their larger bodies, learning to be happy in their larger bodies. So it really, Menzel, depends on what you're reading and who you're listening to. Linda, what do you think of that? You're muted.
I have construction outside, so if you hear background noise, can you hear that or no?
No, I don't hear it.
I'm just gonna go in my kitchen. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
I'll make it way better for you. So, the woman that just spoke, well, I see it totally different, but I grew up with a mother that was on every diet under the sun, and she was quite overweight. We once went on a mother-daughter diet, Castellan, where we drank this protein for 60 days and didn't eat food. So I grew up always with a heavy mother trying to be thin, and she was very loving, a super loving Jewish mother who every once in a while would say, Linda, if you keep eating like that, you're going to be as big as a house. I heard that line, you're going to be as big as a house. So I was always trying to be like the thinner girls. Like if I could just look like Cheryl, I'd have it all. Somewhere at a young age, for sure by 14 or 16, I had it that if you had a great little tiny body and you could eat anything you wanted and look thin, I had it like thin is sexy. So that's one thing. I think it's great if you grew up not having a emphasis on that. And it wasn't all my parents' fault. Some of it I just must have adopted from magazines and whatever, but I definitely had that. And I think today it definitely, with social media, and you have, where movie stars used to be, seemed like so far away from you. My God, if they came close, you'd scream and yell, you could whatever. And now they're like, 1 degree of a click. And we see things like Kim Kardashian, we see them shaking their booties in our faces, and Shakira or Beyonce. So I think we've got bodies right in our face, what sexy is, not that they're saying that. And then we've got people like Lizzo now today, which is fabulous. So we definitely have a different movement for bigger girls. But the only thing I wanted to add to that when you thought chime in was, I don't know if that's globally accepted or not. I don't know. I just know it's more out there that we're trying to be more accepting. I just know for me, I have an ideal body weight and it can range within 10 or 15 pounds. And when I get over it, I'm not comfortable in my own body. I just feel like, and I don't know if that's left over from, I want to hide. I want to wear big clothes. I don't want to go out. I only feel like I can move freely when I'm not thinking about my clothes. I fit into them. So if you're someone that's gone up and down in weight, you have a relationship to clothing fitting and, hiding and wanting to be out. So I love that she doesn't have that, whatever. That's not my way of seeing it. I just know I want to feel good in my body. And when I feel good and I'm not focused on food, I had a bad day, good day, I overate, it's not in my focus. And I can go weeks or months and it's real great like that. God, I feel so free.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask you something, and it's a rhetorical question. All right. I'm asking you from a place of pure curiosity.
Okay.
Without any judgment. If your weight was a little higher than what you feel best about it being, you talk about feeling good in your body. Is that discomfort coming from here, or is it actually coming from the way you feel in your clothes?
That's a good question.
That's because that's what it's all about. It's all about shifting your mindset. It's about connecting to the wisdom of your body, whether it be about food choices, whether it be about self-worth. And that also speaks to what Menzel was talking about. You know, people who are looking to be something other than they are, that speaks about how they feel about themselves, no matter what they weigh. You know, and there are women who are very thin and they never feel that they're thin enough. So, you know, there are women like Linda's mom. My mom was the same way. I had the same messages. Linda and you and I might be sisters. You know, every diet known to mankind. I grew up in a house where dieting was a family affair. You know, if it was Monday, it was a new diet. And, you know, like I said to my 87-year-old mother last week, Mom, if you were such a perfect dieter, you still wouldn't be doing it. You know, if there was such a thing, because it's all about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. And then that brings on guilt and shame. And then that sets up the vicious cycle, because people who are turning to food in an effort to feel better turn to food when they're feeling badly about how they think they look. So it's just that vicious cycle. So it all starts with our relationship with ourselves. Our relationship with ourselves is reflected in our relationship to everything else.
I think I have work there, and I'm better than I was, but to say full self-acceptance or being loving, I have to catch my thoughts then. You know, when I'm like, oh, even thoughts like, okay, you blew it, you'll be good tomorrow. Right? Because that can set up the vicious cycle too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, because what has to happen is you've got to go back and look at the definition of blowing it. Look at why you were drawn to behaving that way, right? What you were really hungry for. I know it's a cliche, but if you break it down and you think about it literally, it's a very valid question. Usually when we turn to food that we're not physically hungry for, we're hungering for something else. You know, there's a wonderful woman, her name is Dr. Nina Saville Rocklin. Maybe it's Rocklin Saville. Anyway, she wrote a book called The Binge Cure. And she talks about what we reach for in an effort to feel better, right? So she says, if our go-to is creamy food, then we need soothing. If our go-to is crunchy food, we need to release anger. If our go-to is heavier foods like bagels and heavy starchy food, then we're looking to fill ourselves up. And I think it's very, very important when we are doing the exploration to figure out who we are as eaters. It's important to understand where the scarcity is coming from, right? If we are triggered by dieting or triggered by even an elimination diet, a therapeutic protocol that's asking us to avoid certain foods, we might feel deprived. That's coming from the mindset that if I'm not eating something, I'm restricting. That's not true. I'll give you an example. So I have a gluten intolerance, really a wheat intolerance, all kinds of wheat, not just gluten. And if I eat it, risk versus reward, sometimes I'll choose to eat it. It lays in my stomach for days and days and days and days, and I'm miserable. So if I'm choosing not to eat those fabulously delicious breads and bagels, I'm not restricting, I'm honoring myself. I'm making an empowered choice.
If Dr. Tom O'Brien would hear you now, then he would say everybody is gluten intolerant.
Well, I've interviewed Dr. Tom O'Brien. He's a very bright man, but he's extremely fanatical in his thinking. And
they are extremist people. I feel happy when I eat gluten.
Okay, then you are one of the lucky ones.
I never had any gluten problem. My real problem is that I would like somebody to cook for me rich and tasty meals, because I'm not a great cook. And I stopped cooking meat because they said frying oils is forbidden. So the poor only things that I know to do with meat was to fry, and that's not healthy.
So
of
Menzel, then
course-
why don't you try different cooking methods? What's stopping you from doing that?
So I need somebody to cook for me just as my mother cooked always, and I'm not a big cook. I know to do a few things, a few healthy things, but they are not feeding my body enough.
Well,
love
perhaps
to
you can find some food that you can take out, order from a restaurant, or find somebody to prepare meals for you.
That's the problem, because here and there you can find half processed foods, those kind of half ready-made things, but they are unhealthy
Not
because they are
always. Menzel, you could buy,
processed
you could
foods.
find roast
No,
chicken, you
no.
can buy fried grilled fish. If you look for it, you'll find it.
That's what I miss.
Okay, well, I think maybe you should make a commitment to yourself to do a search for either a food delivery service or someplace where you can order food that serves your needs.
It's a problem. I try to solve my problems by myself, and it looks like I was living on dairy.
Okay.
And now I'm a little bit better with dairy because I started to take some enzymes,
Good.
and it looks that that was a problem, and maybe even missing an insufficient acid, which may be a thing of the age also.
Well, look, Menzel, you know, several times I referred you to one of my colleagues who is very familiar with Israel and could make some really good suggestions for you to get you on the right path of healing. But this is, you know, where you have a choice. You have a choice to reframe your thinking and to realize that maybe you need to let go of some of the beliefs and behaviors you're holding on to that are keeping you stuck. And that's about becoming empowered.
Of course, I'm avoiding sugar because let's say sugar is not a healthy thing. But I feel that I'm not eating sugar at all, and I miss it. Not mentally, but my body misses it.
Well, you can eat sugar in fruits. You can eat sweet vegetables. You could have dates.
I'm eating all kinds of fruits.
Okay.
And I have no problem with fruits, but sometimes you want to eat an ice cream, for example.
Well, then by all means eat it. And you see how you feel.
I found a wonderful ice cream which was sugarless. I said, this is for me 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Now I could not eat it because it's dairy. So I miss it. I really miss it.
But there are plenty of non-dairy ice creams on the market now. There's oat milk ice cream.
What is non-dairy is with sugar. So you have to choose between sugar
No. There's a company called So Delicious. I don't know if it's available in Israel, but they make a sugar-free coconut ice cream that is absolutely delicious.
I saw that there are also ice cream made of avocado, but I'm not the cook to stand there and make.
But look for that So Delicious coconut milk ice cream. They make mint chip that's sugar-free and vanilla that's sugar-free and butter pecan that's sugar-free.
I will die of subnutrition. That will be my problem, because everything is not good. They only teach you how to cook vegetables in water, not in oil, not even in
You can
olive
cook
oil.
vegetables in broth. You can cook vegetables in vegetable broth, chicken broth. There are some oils that are very, very healthy for you. Avocado oil, olive oil. You just want to avoid the highly refined seed oils. but you can, there's nothing
I
wrong.
usually use olive oil.
And avocado oil is wonderful. Coconut oil is wonderful. So there are solutions, Menzel. You just have to be willing to open up your mind to accepting them.
All food-based, all plant-based diet. Only plants, only food, and of course only organic.
No,
Yeah.
but you know, look,
I
As-
was very happy that I bought some organic pasta, which is made of chickpeas and
wonderful.
peas, and wonderful. After 2 months, some mosquitoes decided to eat it all. They made it to flow completely.
So the
While
lesson
my
there is
gluten
wrap
pasta,
up,
or
wrap
even
up
the
your food
glutenless,
better.
the rice pasta is perfect even after 5 years. So that's the thing that drive me crazy. And I really don't want to eat pasta every day, because if somebody asks me, I will eat only pasta every day.
So let me ask you, Menzel, what's the one question you have for me?
How can one put lean body muscle mass on his body
Protein,
without
protein, and amino acids. That's how. And, you know, you're giving me so many reasons for you not being able to do so, but there are very simple solutions.
would those amino acid products help? There are all kinds of compounds that contain 20 types of amino acids.
Well, you get the best amino acids from eating complete proteins. So that would be your animal proteins, right? Your eggs, fish, meat, poultry. That would be the best way to start.
My main protein was the dairy.
Okay, well, you could do better. And clearly, if you are losing muscle, your body is telling you it's not sufficient. So the answer to the question is animal protein. That's what we need to build and maintain muscle.
I should eat more meat, but I got accustomed to not eating sometimes anything almost one day long. And that's not sufficient, and I really cannot eat. I would like to eat more. I don't have the kind of food that I used to have, and because I was not looking at that I'm eating pizza or not eating pizza. I found some good pizza that I was eating. No, it's a no. That's totally unhealthy.
I'd love for some of our other participants to speak to this issue, if they can relate. Hi,
My name's Rima.
I'm sorry, your name?
Rima.
Hi, Rima, welcome.
Yeah, I'm calling because I did have an email. I sent the email out asking about your program. I didn't know if I was ready to do it because I have a lot of stress right now. But I never did get email, a reply back. I know you said it was happening in October, but I didn't know if it was a good time for me to start. And I was wanting to know if you if it was just for this time, or are you going to have it again?
Okay, you're talking about the email you received about my group program. I have to say I did not receive any email from you, because I would have answered that for sure. So I'll check my spam.
Okay.
But yes, so I created a group program. It's called Beyond Food, Conquering the World of Hidden Triggers. And it's only 6 weeks. And it comes out to just little less than $25 a week. I think it's $149 for the 6 weeks. So what it is weeks 1, 3, and 5 I teach a lesson and then we have questions and answers about the lesson. And the subject matter is why we have a relationship with food that we do. Week 3 is what happens in the body. That's more of the scientific functional medicine piece. What happens in the body that either is a result of or contributing factor to that behavior. And that speaks to really how physiology impacts psychology and how psychology impacts physiology. In other words, how biology impacts your biography and how your biography drives your biology. And then week 5 is about how to manage the triggers with good tools and ideas. Then weeks 2, 4, and 6 are all about group support. So we talk about what the previous week was like for you, where you're struggling, celebrate your wins, opportunities that are open to you. So it's supposed to start next Thursday, October 5th. But I have to be honest with you, as of now, I don't have enough people to start. So a final email is going out, I believe, on the 28th as a final call. If you are worried about the time factor and not being able to commit, you can just buy the course, the 3 modules, for $97 from my website. And it's the same material that I'll be teaching. So if that's an issue for you in terms of committing to the time, then that's the best solution.
Oh, okay. I mean, but it's all, you're gonna always be giving it up. I mean, you're gonna always have this program out.
Well, the program is what they call evergreen. It's on the website for you and others to purchase forever and ever, as is my other program. But in terms of the group support, which I love doing, which is why I do these free calls every month, I need a group.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I just, you know, I speak to colleagues about it all the time. I think it's just the times we're living in. People are working on their computers. They're home all day. They're on Zoom all day. There are so many, since COVID, there are so many online courses, online this, online that.
There is.
I think it's saturated, but I'll continue these free calls. But like I said, the coursework is there for you to look at. Go to the website. Under the tab Work With Me, it's on that page. It's all the different ways you can work with me. It's called Beyond Food. It's right there, and I think it's only $97.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the reason why I was on it before, but I have a lot of issues, food disorder issues, because I suffer with digestive problems. And I've done all these diets, and I'm to the point to where I don't know. I'm not saying I've given up, but I'm just not as, my mind is not with it. And my sister gave me money to buy all these pills and stuff, but it's like, it was kind of working in the beginning, but then I got stuck and got messed up. And now it's like, I'm just not for doing it right now. It was just so hard doing those diets and stuff. I don't know when I want to go back and do it. And I'm eating all this sugar, and I know that's not good for me. But it's like, that's the only thing that makes me feel good, because I'm kind of disgusted because the programs didn't work, you know. So it's like, I know I have a thing about food, you know, and then I start like eating sugar and stuff like that. And then
well, that's going to really harm your digestive system. Sugar is extremely inflammatory, unfortunately. And sugar makes us feel good because of the effect it has up here, but it doesn't really help with any inflammatory processes that are going on in the body. And again, I can't go into anything medical on this call until I took a history from you or saw your labs and really went into your whole health history regarding the kinds of testing you've done and the kind of protocols you've been on. But you can heal your gut. I will promise you that. You know, Hippocrates 2,000 years ago, the father of medicine, said all health starts in the gut. So there are things that can be done.
Well, I've seen Dr. Ruscio, and what pissed me off with him was that he took me off of all my supplements. I think Joe Mader. And then I got all messed up like that because I was doing kind of good too. I wasn't eating the sugar and all of that. And once he took me off all my supplements, I got all constipated. So it's like I couldn't stay with him because then it was costing too much money, and the dietitian wasn't helping me out. Then I went to another woman and it wasn't working with her either. And I was like real good with it, I mean, I know I was still stressed. I know that didn't help matters,
No, that doesn't help the gut either.
but she was trying to get me on some what is it? Trying to tell me to take CBD because I had stress problems. And I
Right,
said I didn't
okay.
want to do that, So I know I didn't do everything I was supposed to do, but it's making me feel like I just don't know what to do, And right now I'm not in the frame of mind. I say maybe I'll do it when the new year starts. I'm just not for that because all those the preparing the meals and all that, it just took so much out of me. And I'm not saying I can't get well, but it's like they drop the ball sometimes, with me. And it's money issues.
Mhm.
That's another thing too, where, if I could get better help, it's just all that. I don't know.
All right, well,
Right now I'm just not in the space to be giving up all the stuff which I know. And even when I did try, I did like one meal. She told me I'm taking these other pills with this other person with these digestive enzymes. She said, try to go on a low FODMAP. I did it one day and I said, it's not working. I know it's probably stress related too because my husband's not working. So I don't know. I don't know.
well, low FODMAP diet can be helpful, but it's not, a low FODMAP diet is not going to cure the root cause of the issue. A low FODMAP diet will help your symptoms because you're eliminating those carbohydrates that ferment in the gut and give off gas. But the other thing about a low FODMAP diet that most people don't know is that it's very complex. There are some who can tolerate certain types of FODMAPs and
Yeah,
others
she
who
yeah,
can't
she had me on
tolerate others.
lettuce. Yeah, lettuce. And that lettuce just messed me up. It was like lettuce and meat. I was like, God, I was so messed up. I told her I can't take this raw lettuce like that, and she said, okay, well, don't do it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no, you
I don't,
can't go on. You need guidance to go on a low FODMAP diet. You really do. There's a wonderful app, if you have an iPhone, called the Monash.
I haven't.
Okay, you know why I like it? Because it gives you dosing. It lets you know how much of a food could create a problem, right? But in my experience, there are people who have trouble with apples and there are people that have no trouble with apples. So it's
Yeah.
a question of experimenting and doing some trial and error. But that's why I always go back to connecting to the wisdom of your body, listening to your body rather than the rules that you made up in your head, and let your body guide you.
Yeah, because sometimes I can eat gluten and it doesn't even bother me.
Well, wheat is very high FODMAP food.
But it doesn't bother me
Well,
like that
okay.
plain bread, I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Then maybe
But
that's not your issue. Maybe you don't need a low FODMAP diet.
what my sister was saying too, like you were saying, you got to be real balanced. She said, I put all my focus on food and I'm not thinking about other things in my life. I
Okay,
did do
well,
a paint by number set and it did make me feel better doing other things, because I'm home all the time. She said, you just worrying too much about food. She said, you just think too much. She said, nobody can help you. She said, but it's like you gotta have your life be more balanced. You're
your
too much
sister's wise.
focused on. She said you're too focused on your diet and your stomach issues and all that. She said you got to do other things. She says, how's your relationship with your husband? How's all this? She's just telling me all this stuff. She said, as long as your life is not balanced, you're always gonna have stomach issues. That's what she
Well,
said.
your sister is a very wise woman, because the truth is that it's much easier to think about food and your stomach issues than things in your life that are painful. You know, and why we go back to food so often, and for those of you who have been with me before, you've heard me say this, that our very first experience as humans with being nourished and seen is about being fed. The brain, before it's fully developed, there's no sense of ego, no sense of self, only knows that it can rely on this one person responsible for our care and feeding. The brain knows, eat, feel better. That stays with us
Yes.
forever. It's stored in our brains forever. So it's important to understand that that's why so many people turn to food.
It
It's
is.
self-soothing, it's
I'm
comfort,
kind
and
of,
we can't live without it. Which is why, what makes it so difficult if you have eating challenges.
and me being a foodie, I became a foodie because I can't eat. That's why it's so hard to stay on these low FODMAP diets, because I don't want to stop eating garlic and onions.
Well, but like I said, if you can eat wheat, then you might not need a low FODMAP diet. So start slowly, have the onions, have the garlic in small quantities and see how it sits with you. Don't live by such hard, fast rules. You mentioned your husband isn't working. You have enough deprivation in your life to deal with right now. You don't need to feel deprived. You need
That's what I am.
you need to focus on abundance and all that you have to be grateful for.
And that will help me with my
Yeah, it will help you, I promise. But go to the website, look at the courses, and we'll take it from there.
Oh, okay.
And feel free to stay in touch.
Okay.
Paula, we haven't heard from you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I am. I'd love to know what brought you to this call. You could put in the chat if you don't want to come on camera or you don't want to speak, that's okay. Or if you just want to listen, what are you hearing that's resonating with you? I guess Paula just wants to listen, and that's okay. You're welcome. You are perfectly welcome to just listen.
I have listened to so many summits. The same person goes to every summit, no matter what is the subject of the summit, but they have their own theory, and you can hear the same theory again and again and again and each and every summit.
Okay.
Gluten is bad. That is bad. All kind of such. I
Menzel,
don't believe
I
it.
think
I
you're
don't
listening to
believe
the
it that
wrong
gluten
summits.
is bad. There are people who don't support it, who don't tolerate it, but gluten is not bad.
No, it's not. And it depends on how it's grown. And you're not in the United States. And it's manufactured totally differently.
It
where
has
you
also
are.
benefits for those who can tolerate it.
Excuse me?
For those who can tolerate it, it even has benefits to the body.
Yeah, of course. All carbohydrate has benefits for the body. B vitamins that you need for metabolism and stress reduction. Again, cell repair. But but the thing is, Menzel, my advice to you is if you're hearing messages that don't sit well with you, you've got to stop listening to them. You've got to find what works for you.
If somebody would forbid me to eat gluten, then that would be a very serious problem.
Well,
Because that
asking
means
you
not
to do
eating
that.
bread, not eating not just pasta, but everything that contains gluten. So that's the same problem as with dairy. I don't believe all these theories.
Then start listening to people that are talking about eating a wide variety of food.
Yeah. I think that if something is bad for your body, then you will have one kind of symptoms or another
And so
reaction to
everybody's
that.
body is different. You and I
Yes,
could eat
but
the same
it's not
food.
possible that you don't feel bad from something and they come and say you that's a problem. So they cannot solve my problem and then they say it's gluten. If you find it, my real problem is a completely different one that I try to solve it by making food modifications, but it doesn't go that way because it's not that the problem originally. It was a completely different problem, and even this issue with the CBD, that's another topic. That everybody is here. There are those who fight to obtain approval for getting CBD, and I try to tell them that that's a drug, and it's as dangerous as any other drug. It's kind of and they say you don't understand, you don't know. That's a good product that makes only good to the body, and so on, so on, so. And I'm not willing to try it.
So Menzel, how can we support you? This is a support call.
Oh,
How can we support you? I can't give you medical advice. I won't give you medical advice without seeing testing and labs and a whole health history.
yes,
And I understand that you are challenged with the foods that you have before you. And, you know, in the past, you've gotten a lot of advice about trying different things. But it seems to me that you're stuck in where you are. So why do you think that is?
My problem is that my body is already so weak that I cannot raise it back to where it was even at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was still moving somehow.
Well, that goes back to what are you doing for yourself? And I don't hear you saying that you're doing anything for yourself. You're talking about people telling you things.
I'm trying I try to learn a lot and want to try all kind of supplements, mushrooms and these kind of things, vitamins mainly. But I cannot put the finger on it to say this is what Muslim needed. So the enzyme, I feel that it makes good in the sense that the diary is a little bit more silent now. If I'm taking enzyme, maybe that's also a problem that can explain something.
Okay, well, my advice to you, and the only nutritional advice that I am qualified and willing to give you right now, is to add more protein to your diet. And that's all I can say. I can't help you if you keep coming back to me saying that it can't work. You've got to try it. That's the only hope you have for yourself, is to try it. And if you can't prepare it yourself, I think you should do some research and find out where you can get roasted chicken, baked fish, grilled meats. That's not so hard. It doesn't have to be this hard, is what I'm trying to tell you.
It doesn't have to be, but you know, there is a culture of fast food here, but not a culture of normally cooked food.
Menzel, I don't believe that. I'm going to challenge you on that. Okay, you live in a very, very modernized country.
I live in a country where there is a culture for sugar and everything that is
everywhere there's a culture for sugar. Menzel, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I've got to make this clear to you. Every culture is full of processed food and sugar, but that doesn't mean you have to depend on that. You can we also live in a culture where the healthiest foods are available and you can find them. You can find fruits, vegetables. Most supermarkets today have areas where they have healthy
Yes,
prepared
fruits and
foods,
vegetables I'm
rotisserie,
buying, but you know,
rotisserie chickens, grilled fish. And you know what? I've traveled the world, and one of the things
they
I
say
love
that's
to do,
processed food, that's not
one of,
healthy.
one of the things I love to do when I'm in another country is go into a local supermarket. I love to see what people are eating and how the shelves are set up. And I have never been into a store that doesn't have healthy food offerings.
They are all the same, you know, in the summit they say you don't have to even go close to that area in the middle, as if they are talking about my supermarket. In all the supermarkets, the same things are in the same places.
Yes, exactly.
So
And
you
you
have
should
to
shop
go.
the perimeter of the store where your fruits, vegetables, meats, dairy, proteins are. All your processed packaged foods are in the middle of the store. So, you know, you're not convincing me that it's impossible for you to find healthy food. Ray, where are you located?
Me?
Ray, did I get your name wrong? I'm sorry. Ray?
Oh, Rima, you said?
Oh,
Me?
I'm sorry, I missed your name. I'm sorry. Where are you located?
Um, in Louisiana.
Louisiana, okay. So I've been to Louisiana and I know there's plenty of unhealthy food there too, but I've also eaten very healthy meals there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They have both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Linda's in Toronto and I know
Oh
there's very
yeah.
healthy food there. I don't know what
Yeah.
Paula is, but I'm in New York and there's an abundance of food delivery services, prepared foods, and there's also an abundance of food that doesn't serve me well.
Yeah.
So it's about making choices, not restricting. I'm in charge of my body. So I'm making choices that serve me. I don't feel restricted at all. And that's the difference. That's how my mindset shifted from when I was going through my own disordered eating years. Because
Oh,
funny, I'm writing a new book and I was working on it before we got on this call, and it's writing on the introduction, you know, and I realized that I spent most of my adult life, which is, I'm 68 years old, so most of my adult life, which about 50 years, not being satisfied, was either eating too much or eating too little. Never satisfied with who I was or where I was or accepting the body that God gave me. It's not about the food. It's the disease of not enough. Not thin
yeah.
enough, not enough food, not numb enough, not distracted enough, not avoiding enough, not feeling enough. But we have to find our enough. That's where it starts, finding our enough. Why, sister, telling you a balanced life? Very true. Because again, as I said before, our relationship to ourselves is reflected in our relationship to everything else. And if we want to live tight, rigid, constricted, negative lives, we're going to be constricted and negative human beings. If we focus on all the blessings of the universe and what's around us, we expand ourselves. We become expansive. And I'm not talking about the size of your body. I'm talking about the size of your soul. And that, you know, and there are tools in that course, you know, that really talk to you about deep breathing. You get a workbook with it. There are deep breathing exercise. There's a favorite exercise of mine called the 4Ds, right? So delay, distract, determine, decide. What is it that you're really hungry for? But give yourself that time to delay what becomes the default behavior. There are breathing exercises. There are recommendations for essential oils. Talking about amino acids and how they help our brain chemistry. So you might find that very helpful. And this way you don't have to commit to the time element of the group.
Okay.
Linda, before we wrap up, you have anything to say? You're muted.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
No, I really loved what you said at the end about it's my body, it's my choice. I'm choosing what serves me. Because the question I was going to ask, but we got other people were speaking, is I was going to ask about the challenge of a buffet, but you know, like how we could set ourselves up before we go and we know we're going to a big dinner. But it's really, you know, my work for mindset, you know, when my mind's in a good place, I don't have to work on it. And the problem is I ride it and then it seems to have dispersed without being aware. What are my thoughts? What's going on here? And choosing an empowering one, like you said, what you said, I'm like, that would have changed my whole day on the weekend had I thought that going in.
Yeah, but and you know what you say is so interesting because so many of us that were born out of this diet culture mentality, you know, diet culture teaches us not to eat. No one has taught us how to experience a meal. And when we approach a buffet or a beautiful dinner, whatever it is, fully present, and we allow ourselves to experience that meal, it's much easier to stop when we've had enough, right? But having said that, in the last few minutes that we have, I want to say, and I said this just this morning to a client, even people with healthy relationships to food who don't act out with food have occasions in their lives where they overeat just because it's so good, just because it's easier to have that extra piece of cake than fight with mom, just because it's grandma's recipe, just because it's somebody's birthday and you had this great meal and there's this gorgeous cake. It's all, but the difference is that people that have that healthy relationship with eating don't beat themselves up. And don't fall into that whole cascade, that whole vicious cycle of needing to self-soothe and punish themselves because they trust their bodies to enough that they know their body's going to take care of themselves. So they might not be as hungry tomorrow, or their bodies are going to call for more water. And in a few days, everything will go back to status quo. That's what happens when we connect to the wisdom of our bodies and we trust. Thank you all so much for being with me today. I really love it. I never know who's showing up on this call. I've had as many as 11 people and I've had as few as 2. So I'm always grateful and I love the questions and just keep throwing them at me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Nice.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.